are in need of a quick, healthy dish after a busy Easter, then the founder of Deliciously Ella Mills, is in the kitchen now with just the thing. It's her creamy mushroom orzo risotto. So, can you explain orzo before we start?
Absolutely. Well, good morning. So orzo is actually a pasta, looks a little bit more like rice, and it cooks so quickly. It's so easy, and I think it's a real family favourite as well. I've got 2 toddlers at home, and this is a big fan. They're a big fan of this, but it cooks in like 7-8 minutes, or you can do it in a dish like this, where you literally just pop the lid on and it cooks itself in 20 minutes. So it's an absolute dream ingredient, I think.
So what are you making with that orzo?
OK, so we're going to make a creamy mushroom orzo. So this is our most popular recipe we've ever had on Deliciously Ella. We've been going 10 years as of next week.
Wow, is it really? Congratulations.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, isn't it?
Amazing.
It's really exciting. So we've seen that kind of whole start of plant-based being very niche to being very, very popular.
What do you think has made this one the most...
Do you know what? It's a great question. I think it's 2 things. It's an absolute one-pound wonder, which I think for busy people makes a big difference. And also a huge number of people who cook our recipes are flexitarian versus kind of fully paid-up vegans. And I think the fact that this is so simple, it's just a handful of ingredients, it's one pot, it's like the dream midweek meal, which I think is what we see really resonates with people.
OK, so how do you begin?
Fab. So we're going to start with some dried mushrooms because they add a lot of depth, a lot of flavour to this, and we're literally just going to pour in some boiling water. So you can use any mushrooms. I think porcini mushrooms are the best, and then, but whatever you can get in the supermarket. And then we're going to use the water from these as the stock. So here's one I made earlier. And then we're simply just going to pop it all in our one pan.
So how long would you leave these to sit in the water
10 minutes or so.
It's not long.
Yeah, exactly. So you do that while you basically get everything else cooking. So just start with a little bit of olive oil and a nice big glug, and then we've got 1 red onion here.
Does it make plant-based an easier sell for you now because people are more on board and they understand it? I mean, 10 years ago, people must have just thought it was like, what is this?
I know, it's so interesting because when I started, it was so weird. It was so niche. Like, even friends and family thought, what on earth are you doing? Like, and it's grown so much over the last few years. There's almost 50% of the country are now kind of buying into it on a regular basis. And I think it was like 5% or so when we started. So it's been a crazy, crazy growth.
It's interesting, really, thinking about being on here and the way our cookery items have changed over the years as well. When I first started, you know, I think vegetarian or plant-based, that sort of stuff.
Barely ever.
I wouldn't have thought.
Well, you were one of the first.
Plant-based wasn't even a term.
No.
Like, people thought you were literally eating plants. I remember saying to someone, and they're like, what, so you're eating cactuses?
Yeah, no, I know. That's fascinating. So onions and garlic.
Yeah, so you've got your onions and garlic. Really you want to give them about 10 minutes, but to show you what happens next, then we literally add the dried mushrooms. So you can see here they're still quite hard, and then after about 10 minutes they go really nice and soft. So you just give them a quick chop, and then add them to the pan.
They are the much more intense mushroomy flavour.
Much more intense, much more depth. And I think it's a combination of those dried mushrooms, their water, and then we use miso in this that give it that layer of depth, which I think sometimes people find a little bit harder to achieve with plant-based cooking when people are changing the way they eat. If you can't get miso, it is available in most supermarkets, but you can do Marmite and soy sauce, give that same kind of umami-like depth, which, again, you don't get as much from veg, but obviously mushrooms do have quite a lot of that. So you're just going to chuck in, and obviously if you can get any seasonal mushrooms, wild mushrooms, amazing. Yeah, it adds even more flavour, but equally just simple, basic supermarket mushrooms absolutely do the job.
Yum.
So you'd let that keep cooking, and then after about 10 minutes, it's going to look like this.
So you're letting that cook, the mushrooms are cooking down with their own liquid?
Exactly, just in their own liquid. No, so we've kept the soaking liquid from our dried mushrooms. Yeah. And we're going to add that now once the mushrooms are nice and soft and have got lots of colour to them. And then we're going to cook the orzo in that, so it's going to start to absorb all the flavours as it expands.
Gosh, that sounds amazing.
Would it be right in saying that you should be careful with the water after, because some dried mushrooms can be a little bit gritty, can't they?
Exactly, and you might want, if you see that's a bit gritty, so just simply strain it. Exactly, really nice and easy. And then the other ingredient we add to this, which I think is part of the reason why it's so popular, is a tin of coconut milk, because it just makes it so creamy, quite luscious and...
I can't wait to taste it. Can you taste the coconutty sort of flavour coming through, or not really?
No, just gently, because you've got a big chunk of miso in there, you've got that mushroom, and then you're going to add a bit of lemon at the end. So I think it's quite a gentle, quite gentle. But then you literally, I mean, it is this easy. You give it a stir, make sure the miso's gone all the way through.
What's miso made out of?
This one's a brown rice miso, and it's a fermented soy. But yeah, as I said, if you've got Marmite at home, that's a really easy swap. And again, nice addition to veggie food. Give that a stir, and then you literally just pop the lid on, and that's that.
How long does it stay there until
About 20 minutes.
Oh, right.
On a nice low heat. And then we've got one that's finished here, but if you guys are happy to help, we've got some spinach that we can just stir through just to get some more greens in.
So you don't have to cook it because it cooks within there?
Yeah, I mean, I'd kind of finish it on the hob, but just for a minute or so, because this is so hot, it just wilts down really quickly.
Looks so delicious.
Yeah, so it's a bit like a risotto, but without all the fuss.
Once again, I've not been given the most critical of jobs, have I? Really? So I can't really
Didn't you
mess
get a
it up,
letter this
can I?
morning from someone saying, I love watching you cook because you can't do it?
Yes, I did. A little boy called Sam,
Yes,
who's doing a school project.
Hello, Sam.
Sam,
Good
I've
morning.
just written you a letter, and I read it out in our makeup room, and it said, I've done some research on you. You're a part of my school project, and I love reading about you cooking because I know you can't.
And actually, Sam, he is actually quite a good cook, I have to say. He cooks
I wrote
really
that as a PS on the bottom of the letter. Right, what am I doing?
So you're just going to literally just stir through this chopped spinach, all of it, yeah, loads of greens in.
And can you sort of batch cook this? Can you freeze it, or is it like rice?
Yeah, this freezes really well, exactly. So it's none of the fuss of risotto, and also none of the nervousness that I think lots of us have around rice as well. But yeah, as I said, it's been our most popular recipe.
Can you dollop a load in there, please?
I've just not said it through yet. You just wait your moment.
Just perfecting his cooking.
Yeah, and then I've got
critical
a lot to
cooking.
prove here that his entire class.
And then you want to just add a squeeze of lemon as well, if you're happy to do that. Maybe a crack of black pepper as well.
Can you do that? Bit of pepper?
Shut your face.
A big challenge. But yeah, this recipe's from our app, which has got about 800 plant-based recipes on.
Well, happy 10th birthday,
Thank you
That's
very
amazing
much.
to have started been at the forefront of all of that, and then
it's been
10
a
years.
really exciting journey. But I remember the first time we came on, we made courgette together, which was when this whole conversation about healthy eating, plant-based food was really just getting started.
That is so yummy.
And you are absolutely at the pinnacle of it, right at the front. It's just lovely. This is great.
You.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
No, not at all. Absolutely. And do you notice how brilliantly done that was?
I mean, it's stirred to perfection.
No,
That's what made the dish.
For details of today's recipe and more delicious ideas from our chefs and Phil, download the free This Morning app.